Welcome to the North End, where the passion's running high. We're here to talk football, Austin FC, our pride. ZG&E will take you on this ride.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What is going on, everybody? I forgot to take the background down because I was looking at you dying backstage.
Oh my god, dude, I was crying.
What is going on, everybody? Somber day here in the North End. Third live stream in 4 days. Ready to jump into Osman Bukari's transfer out of Austin FC. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud. We call him
E.
Oh.
At least I was able to get you to laugh there before we started.
Oh, that was great. It reminded me of those fucking super depressing like pet adoption commercials.
Yeah.
It's like, I forget the names. Like, in the arms of oh, man,
Sarah McLachlan or something.
yeah. Oh, when you texted me and you're like, we don't have a sad song, I was like, I know you're about to whip something up. I knew that was coming, but that was really fucking good.
Oh, let's see who's here with us. I know the folks have been kind of milling about there. You see Brian saying, I see you boys in the off season more than I do at Q2. Certainly this week. That's true. I'm seeing more this week than I do on a typical week here because of all the news. Good to see Gregory in here, our buddy, the Acid Bath, Mackie, Mason, all chopping it up before we went live there. You can see Tom in here. Good to see Tom, the Mighty Frog, back. P Mike in here. We see Carl jumping in as well. Tex Rex, Ari's here again. We see Kenneth in here. So happy everybody could join us here on, again, this somber occasion. Not going to go too long because, again, we have been streaming what feels like all week here, so let's jump into it. It was confirmed about an hour and a half ago. Austin FC has transferred winger Osman Bukari to Widzew Łódź in the Polish First Division. And look, this is better than 5 million. The reports are that Austin will receive more like 6.5 million USD and a 20% sell-on fee. Again, I don't think Osman's ever probably not going to be sold for more than that down the road. But if he is, then we'll be able to recoup some more of those funds, which, thinking back, man, I think the transfer fee for us was I think it was a little north of 7 million USD 18 months ago or so. But for a distressed asset like that was leaving, right? It seemed like that, around the family stuff, he made the decision that he wanted to go. It seems like pretty solid work for a guy that didn't want to be here. And that does fit into Roto's track record so far in terms of these types of deals, right? And of course, the shining example is the Driussi transfer last year.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously feels better than the initial report. The shining example for me still is Johan Romagna. The fact that he got X amount of dollars, I can't even remember how much he got for him. 275?
I think it was 750. Dude.
Oh, shit, that's right. Yeah, some ridiculous amount. But this obviously feels better. Still sucks to take a loss. Still sucks to see him depart. And again, that I feel like I've said this now 4 times since we've been live streaming every single day. I feel like Aiden Ross it's like if he wants to be with his family, man, there's nothing that I can say about that. Like it is what it is.
Yeah. See Hudson in here as well, giving me a -3 out of 10 on my pronunciation there.
Oh, damn.
Look, I believe it. I believe
that's
it.
really
Capricia.
bad.
Yeah, Capricia in here as well. And yeah, Ari said we need a Zuni to not want to be here. I think, I don't think we'd be upset about that right now. So press release comes in, and we can certainly, or we of course will discuss the roster construction path, which we started, joking about yesterday with my Luckbox Jaden Nelson trade call there. But the club, very short, sweet, to the point here in the press release. The thing that stands out the most to me is the paragraph here that says, I can scroll for the YouTube viewer, says, additionally, the move gives the club the option to construct its 2026 roster either via the U22 initiative model roster path or the designated player model roster path. Of course, that is the 2-4 GAM is the U22 model, and the DP model, the 3-3 in terms of your DP slots and U22 slots.
That's an interesting addition there.
I don't think you post that unless you're probably going 2-4, but that's not. It's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because, like you could have, and like to borrow from our first ever head coach in club history, look, clearly plates are spinning here, right? Yeah. And so what if you've got some guys on one hand that are profile as U22s and would take, a significant transfer fee, and we've got multiple of those guys. And you got to think, right, whether it's incoming or outgoing, right? Like an Owen or a Danny, the international window doesn't open, I think, in the European part of the globe, I think is like first week of January. Ours doesn't open until a few weeks later, if I recall correctly. So there's still so much time for these things to be done. But then on the other hand, from the U22s over here, what if you've got a couple targets that are potential DPs? What if maybe one or two of those guys wouldn't be able to come until the summer? So, I think you still certainly could see Austin FC go with the 3-3 build next year. As we stand here today on Friday, December 19th, I think it is most likely that we at least start the season with the 2-4 GAM build, because you could leave that fourth U22 slot open. Use the 1 million in GAM you get for the first half of the season and flip back to 3-3 coming out of the World Cup break. That is within the rules. You would just have to use that million of extra GAM in the first half of the season. With the way the roster is, I don't think we'd have any problem doing that. So again, I think the options are truly still on the table, or at least on the fan side of things. We should not pigeonhole our thoughts into one roster path or the other right now. Even though, again, I lean that 2-4 is the more likely at this point.
Yeah, I think it's more likely. And this is just interesting to me that they added this here. I don't remember every single departure or anything like that, but nothing in the Seba departure had us being like, oh yeah, we could. For sure. These are the two options.
Reporting at the time too, Tom Bogert went, Austin's working on another DP when the Seba sale happened. And that was not the case here. He just said it opens a DP slot, which again, it's a different time. Like that was early January when the Seba stuff was going on, earlier this year. And now this is, it's pre-Christmas that we're losing a DP unexpectedly here. Yeah. See Carlos in the chat as well with the broken heart emoji. We feel it, man.
Yeah. Big same right there, dude. It just kind of feels like it's softening the blow here that we're not going to go get another DP, in my opinion, and like, obviously I've seen some comments online and stuff being like, Rhoda, time to make good on the names we wouldn't believe, quote, which is still, I think when he said that, I think we were like, yeah, dude, you might not ever live that down. Cause it was just like, brother, that it was just a poor quote. So I think we're kind of softening the blow here. I liked your idea. You can move Owen onto that U22 spot, make him the third one with Duber and Djordjevic there, give him a huge raise and, have him under contract for a longer period of time, which I think might make him a bit more valuable if you are looking to move him on at some point in time. I think you targeted like the 2027 season. And, that's still our best asset. And when we were talking about like who I personally would be most upset if they left, I was having a conversation with you and I was like, I would say Owen, but, theoretically moving on from him is going to be a huge paycheck. And like, I've already accepted that, you know, with his aspirations, his growth this past season, that he's eventually going to be gone. And this is how this is going to work in this league. You get the money, you try to revamp, and you go from there. So after that, it was Buka for me, being the person I wanted to lose the least. And I was super excited about him coming into this next season. And it just really sucks, man. I've been bummed about this, despite the other good news that we have seen with the Jaden Nelson get, and the fact that this money has been boosted up a little bit. But I fucking loved watching the guy, you know, and we talked about, you know, gravity, impact type of players. He's on the short list with Seba and a couple other names, man. But watching him on that right side just dance on fools was one of my favorite things about going to an Austin game.
Yeah. And I think that's where, like, the Austin fans know, right? Because the prevailing sentiment from this move since it broke on Tuesday afternoon with the first rumor is a negative one. Like, it doesn't seem like the majority of fans are happy about Osman leaving. And like, despite what somebody like Matt Doyle may try to tell you, you know, as somebody who's certainly on the fringes of ever thinking about watching an Austin FC match, like, Osman's time in Austin, in my opinion, cannot be measured on his stats alone, right? Like, I think you actually had to watch the games to understand the impact he had on the team, and especially watching the games when he wasn't out there. And where the little bit of bite and field stretching ability that this roster had was completely gone. Which I think that's why the vast majority of Austin fans are upset about this, and somebody like Doyle shrugs his shoulders and calls him a bust and moves on.
Yeah, no, I think that I was going to say that as well. It's like a testament to the fans who were actually tuned in, night out, watching this dude play, because his stats, of course, do not pop off the chart. You know, and you know, we talked about the comparison with him and Jaden Nelson and how it all looked on the little spider chart there, the spider graph, whatever that is. But you take Osman, you drop him in Vancouver. You know, like his numbers will be shooting through the roof. So I think that's an astute observation by a lot of fans. And he was just fucking fun to watch, man. He was really, really fun. You know, his one-on-one ability was just, it was like nothing we've ever seen. Like, I don't remember Seba dancing on guys like that. Seba obviously beating dudes off the dribble, of course, taking guys on, you know, taking double teams on, but the way that Osman did it didn't look human at times. It was just like, oh God, he's gliding, that ball's moving. It was a beautiful thing to watch, man, and I'm definitely gonna miss him.
I think we have to do this on our farewell live stream. So one more time, let's revisit one of our favorite memes from the season.
Bukari. Ahora sí, los dueños del swing, pa' que sepa, brother.
Shout out to Ozzy.
All-timer.
Always love that Bukari.
All-timer. That's a great one. Yeah, shout out Oz, man.
Well, like, look, I'm not the only one who does these things. And as much as I love to highlight in Victory Lap the text I sent to you about Jaden Nelson, like the acid bath saying, doesn't Mo Salah go out of contract for Liverpool this summer? Reckless dreaming. Look, that is the other 99 out of 100 text messages I send to you are more like that.
Yeah. No, I've been seeing a lot of Mo Salah rumors here to Austin with no backing to them.
Like, we got a lot of Reds here, I guess, in Central Texas. Good to see Jackson in here saying, Owen Wolf 30 goal season incoming. Shit, I'd take 10. Mighty Frog saying, technically, I still can't believe how much we paid for Izuni. So Roto wasn't all the way wrong there. And Ari saying, if we went 2 DP model, keeping Owen as a U22 would make me much less bummed about Buka leaving, and then concurring with us saying Buka brought a lot more than what his stats showed. He constantly drew double and triple teams.
Constantly. Every single game, look, every single team that we played schemed for Buka every time we matched up with them. You saw double teams coming immediately as soon as he was on the ball, and he was still beating guys. Like that's why I was so excited about watching him, man. But definitely, you know, bummed.
Yeah, Textrack saying, who will miss Buka the most? I think number one is E. Yeah. But out there, if we're talking about just the teammates out there on the pitch, Yeah, Dessler probably being able to connect with him down that right side. Like, I mean, I might say, like, you know, BV and Mirtu, a lot of their chances that, you know, they flubbed this year were created off of his foot. And that also doesn't show up in the stats.
Correct.
If you put a ball right on the striker and he doesn't shoot it because he fucking, you know, slips down or what, like, you get no XG, you get no expected assists out of that. Anyways, before I start ranting, you see Kev Moen here saying Osman doesn't get a lot of minutes with the Whitecaps because his decision-making was consistently bad. Sorry to be that guy. E giving you a face right now,
Come on,
Kev. So,
come on.
And so I did want to touch on these. We mentioned them on the live stream yesterday, pulling up some of the graphics from Verde Nation on Instagram, right? And he did really well to go and find this interview with Tomasz Wojlarczyk.
-3 out of 10.
Come on, that's worse than a -3 there. But right, this is the reporter who had the initial tweet that we all started freaking out about on Tuesday. So even more words on this process. He said the player appeared in Poland a few days ago. And these graphics, I believe, were posted Wednesday by Logan there on Instagram. Underwent medical tests, that being Buka, and then signed the contract. From what I know, this was done in great secrecy. They even changed his name. He did not have the medicals done in Łódź specifically to keep the transfer secret until the very end. He continued, I won't hide the fact that I received this name about a week ago, but as sometimes happens, and this is the worst option, I couldn't say anything due to relationships. I was asked from various sides to hold back. But yesterday it really started bubbling because first Radoslaw Majdan on Nisha Football dropped it. Thank you. So you're right. Some other outlets started to pick up on this. So that's when the first reports were dropped. Then one problem appeared. Bukari's wife's residence permit was not extended, and that's when the rules come into play. The player doesn't want to stay at the club and starts looking to return to Europe. Also has a Serbian passport, but it doesn't help us at all. He doesn't want to return to a non-EU country. So again, just wanted to highlight those graphics from Verde Nation because, again, that does point to it being mostly, at least, about that family situation for Osman. And like we said it yesterday, like it sucks that this keeps happening to us, but I am happy that Austin FC continues to do right by those players that have those issues pop up, whether it's Gite or Ruben Gabrielson or Radovanovic, right? Which is a little bit different. That was just, I think his girlfriend didn't like the heat or something or whatever. But then Boloko, right? And now Buka. And we could sit here and have a conversation about, right, is that on the club for not doing their due diligence, or does it fall mostly on the government's kind of changing and shifting policies therein? And again, I'm not looking to one, color tie or the other there, because we've had issues under administrations from both major parties here in the United States, right? Do you need to start just going after single dudes?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, no. It seems more and more that there was some frustration. I think it's not just the family thing. I think there was some frustration with Book. I don't remember who presented this, but mentioning that he wants to get back into favor with Ghana and potentially being over in Europe gives him a better opportunity to do that. I'm not sure why that is the case. I will jump back to Kevin's little comment there. He wasn't a perfect player, and there was plenty of times where I was super frustrated with his decision making, particularly in the final third. A lot of those shots that he took near post, plenty of times really irked me. And but if you watched Sabby all year, I think there'd be plenty of times where you would be like, oh, your decision making is not perfect as well. So to say that he wouldn't get consistent minutes there, I do not agree with that. But yeah, man, it seems like I point back to playing him on the left wing. I think that did a little bit of damage to the relationship and trust that he had with Nico. That's pure speculation. We didn't play the drop, so you can hold me criminally liable for that if it's not true. But I just think it damaged it a little bit. Obviously, he wasn't scoring the goals and getting those counting stats that we look to, and people who are at the national level or the more casual fan is going to point to and be like, well, this guy's a bust. He's a DP level player. He had, I don't, how many goal contributions in his time here? 15, 14.
Yeah, it's 16, I think.
Something along those lines. So but again, back to the point, if we're talking about early on in this season when BV was getting a ton of chances in the box and we saw headers hit the bar or go over the goal, like very, very ones that we've seen.
Or the two forwards stealing chances from each other. Right?
And like we've seen BV dunk these before. These counting stats would have improved. And I shudder to think of what this offense would have looked like if we.
Well, we got a couple of examples.
Yeah,
when he was out.
If we didn't have Buka on that right side, we were not obviously any sort of juggernaut on the offensive side of the ball, but it was really bad when he wasn't out there. And the thing that I thought that was a great point by Tex Rex there. Him and Dessler had really great chemistry together. Mm-hmm. Seeing them play that little 1-2 man game, like that shit was awesome to watch. And they played really well off each other. They're very supportive. And we're trying to think of, our favorite Buka moments and everything like that. I still love that Nashville goal. And I love him celebrating that fucking Nashville van behind him, just pissed off, yelling at him. And he's just like, yeah. So I'm going to miss the guy a lot, man, for sure.
Yeah, dude, I mean, if you're thinking about other good Buka memories, he had a great game in the Open Cup this year against Houston. I'll always remember that one. That was one of his more complete games, I think, making huge impacts in both halves. You're talking about all the near post shots that frustrated us. I remember the first goal against San Jose at home this year where Owen puts him through in on net and he goes far post and we were like, holy shit, he did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and then later in that game, picking that ball up off the sideline, assisting Azuni's little tap in there down in the south end. I do wonder, why the extreme secrecy?
I was
over there
too,
in Poland.
What name did they use? I was wondering, trying to figure out what type of name. I'm not sure. Maybe so they can kind of control the narrative with it. That it doesn't get out that we're losing another. I don't know. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, maybe. And he said he was asked to keep quiet from multiple sides, right? That reads to me like it was also Austin saying, shut up about this.
Yeah, I think so too. And we talked about, this being the highest transfer payment out of that league ever, right? Like this is the biggest fee of all time. So I'm not sure. It's interesting.
Well, and I had my tinfoil hat was getting real tight, I think, on Tuesday night because that was before we had that report from over there in Poland giving us the additional details about Buka's family situation. I was thinking, was Osman really injured at the end of this season? Or did we know we were going to have to try to move him on? And then we, for all parties involved, protected his health down the stretch. Again, as soon as that information came out on Wednesday, I did not, think that was very plausible anymore, but that is where my brain went on Tuesday night. We did also get the press release from Osman's new club there. He signs a deal through the 2030 season. So Osman's certainly intending on staying in that Polish league for the foreseeable future. He did have a quote in here. And again, this is Google translated from Polish to English, but Osman in this article says, I can say that Austin was good, but as a footballer, you have to change the environment sometimes. Sometimes it's also about the family. I wanted to go back to Europe and continue my career here. I was convinced by the conversation about what Widzew is looking for and what kind of player he wants to get. I am happy to be in Łódź. And again, I think you maybe brought up this point to me before we went live that he probably can't just say I'm only here because my family situation. I didn't want to be here, with the soccer situation either. So I think that was a pretty steady read by you there.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to take a giant paycheck from the team and be like, yeah, I'm only here because my wife can't get into the United States of America. So he's got a posture with the team for sure. They got a good player, man. I'm going to wish him the best, man. I hope he goes over there and sets shit on fire.
What Ari's saying here, do y'all speculate that Nico wasting his talent on the wrong side of the field for half a season soured him on being in Austin? That's something that he has brought up, I think, multiple times now, that it certainly didn't help. And you saw his body language. He was never the most, extroverted type of player, right? He wasn't super, you see a lot more out of a guy like Hot Air at the same position, who's down there when he's getting ready to sub in. He's dancing down in the South End. He's yelling and screaming when he scored goals, a decade ago for Austin FC. Osman was always a little bit more muted in all of his mannerisms, but he definitely did not look happy those couple months.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was, the prevailing reason why he might not have been totally happy here, but I definitely don't think it helped the relationship between those two. And I think as soon as you saw him shift back to his natural position on that right side, his demeanor alone really, really took an uptick, and his performance. And I do want to give him credit for, because we didn't see anything come out after that. You know what I mean? Where he's like saying, I'm playing out of position. I'm being asked to take on a lot of defensive responsibilities. And there was plenty of times in particularly that LAFC matchup where I thought he did well on the defensive side of the ball, and eking out that 1-0 victory, I believe in the earlier part of the season. I don't know what month it was. He was a big part of that because we shut it down after we got the early Biru goal, and to see the defensive effort on that side. But yeah, I think it probably damaged the trust a little bit. And again, I don't have any full proof of this, but just watching the way that he looked on the right side of the field and how he felt, I think that was, something that took place.
Hudson hooking it up here says Widzew Łódź.
Nice.
Like, welcome to Poland, where the language is made up. The consonants don't matter. W's are V's and L's are W's.
Oh, it's just funny. I made a little comment on Reddit, and you can go in there and see like the statistics and everything, and it's like shows you the countries that the people are from who like saw it and everything. 6% Polish viewers.
Oh yeah, checking in on
that comment. I was like, oh, you fuckers, you fuckers are over here, huh?
Oh man, pulling up the roster spreadsheets here at the northendpodcast.com. We are now back to 2 vacant senior slots with now an open DP slot and an open U22 slot, and those international roster slots now back to all 8 filled. Of course, Jaden Nelson sliding in there for the time being. And you got to keep in mind that you still have the potential to maybe buy down a John Bell or an Ilie Sanchez. I did hear Nico Moreno himself was on the Top Flight pod with Hernan yesterday, and they were talking about the John Bell move a little bit more. And Moreno speculated that the John Bell salary would be $300K or a little above that, which would, of course, you would then not be able to put him on the supplemental. I don't know if I buy that, but like he's also clearly Moreno has an in with John Bell's camp there, so he probably knows something about it. And again, that would make me very, just above an F. I think I gave it a C if he's on the senior roster, that John Bell signing. So if he does stay on the senior roster, then that is there's an uphill climb for that signing to be viewed positively by me. Of course, passing grade at the moment, but a lot less exciting from a roster build standpoint.
Yeah, I was going to say he definitely sounds tapped in, and I'm interested to see what Ilie comes in at. I think that we know Ilie is, in the twilight of his career at this point. I think that he wants to get into some sort of coaching position and things like that. And we were very surprised to see Diego last year be switched to that supplemental. So we'll see how that plays out for sure. It's going to take a little time. You're looking at these roster sheets here, man, and there's work to be done. There's still work to be done, and there's still plenty of time to do said work. I will say live streaming, endlessly all week has me amped up to get back to the stadium, which is quickly approaching. It's ridiculous how short this offseason is. I was a conversation with Debo. I was just like, yeah, dude, these guys like go on vacation for a week and then you got to get back to training camp, man. It's ridiculous. So
yeah,
work to be done.
Imagine being
here.
A free agent. You got no break really, because you're worrying about where your next stop's going to be.
Work to be done, man. And I like the idea of switching on to the U22, taking care of that, and then you can find a U22 attacking midfielder or attacking player that you can put onto this roster that raises the floor a little bit. Again, I go back to what I said yesterday about like what could this team possibly do if you want to be in the conversation for MLS Cup. I don't know if there's an avenue because we don't have an infinite amount of money, So like you're looking at these other teams, LAFC going out spending fucking $30 million. Like
We did that last year.
They just that team is just leaps and bounds better than us. So like
Yeah,
finding
we
a way
don't
to
have a son.
climb up to that level is hard in my opinion. So I do think, and I didn't think, you said a gap year. I think there's just going to be a time where we got to compete for some external cups. I just don't know if we're an MLS Cup competing team, no matter what you do. But there's work to be done with this roster.
Yeah, and again, you come back to the 2 buyouts, and you're gonna.
I hope those get used. I really hope those.
If they're gonna get used, man, it needs to be soon.
Yeah,
because it's not just us needing to fill those slots. Once you do potentially use the buyout, we do have to think about the player that you're buying out and give them time to find a new landing spot, right? Those decisions need to be made and executed if they're going to be. And the closer we get to training camp opening, right? I don't think we're going to make somebody report and then buy them out in the middle of camp, right?
Yeah.
So
when did we buy G out?
Like the 9th or the 12th last year. Something like that. It was before. That was one of the 2 events that happened, in that long list that I read out on last Sunday's episode. That was one of the 2 events that we were already past on the calendar as of last Sunday. So maybe that's something we see here before Christmas rolls around next Thursday. I don't know. But I think that is like thinking about the timeline of when those should and would likely be used should factor into how we think about the rest of the offseason right now. Like each day that passes, I think it's less and less likely that they're going to be used.
Yeah, and we were talking about like plans, right? And I think that this move with Buka has caused a pivot. Where are you at in because we're talking about now switching to this 2-4. I don't think that before we talked about this, both you and I said we'd be upset if we went 2-4 going forward here. So do you think that this is more of a pivot? I don't think it's like a scramble. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why there was a little bit of like super strict secrecy going on to get this done. But where are you at with that? Because like I always maintain, obviously I hope there's a plan for everything. And now we're just not, spraying stuff and moving forward. So where are you at with that in regard to like, is this the plan? Was this the plan going into the offseason after we were eliminated by LAFC?
Yeah, I don't think that's the most likely answer. I think in reading into the comments from that Polish reporter, he said he had the name for at least a week. So that's Wednesday before last. So like 9 days ago, this definitely started at least 9 days ago, if not longer. And the potential secrecy, I think if that did in fact come from our side or some of it, then I think it was shut up because we're trying to get Jaden Nelson to replace him positionally. That makes the most sense to me. Out of the, I could pull all kinds of different, silly, low probability scenarios out of my ass here, but just with the profile of the player, having to maneuver that in the league, and knowing from Tom Bogert's reporting about the Nelson trade that there were 3 offers on the table, and Jaden Nelson was able to pick us out specifically as he, in his quest to get back into the Canadian national team mix for the upcoming World Cup. So I am, again, that just trying to like put some puzzle pieces together and see if they fit. To me, that says Roto was like, here's the trade, and you're going to come in here and start and take this DP spot. You're a game in, game out starter.
Okay.
And the more I looked at Jaden Nelson stuff yesterday, man, the more I am excited about you watch highlights, you're going to get pumped up about just about anybody. Like you would think I was a much better basketball player than I was watching my highlights from when I was playing. Right. The kid is electric.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
And I would shout out our buddy Kevin Trahan, who, was on the, annoyed with Doyle tip with me as well, and went back through Doyle's old posts to find a bunch of pro Jaden Nelson stuff because he was poo-pooing the move for us.
Oh, he poo-pooed it?
Oh, of course. He's out there. He's hanging a little bait for us, to go engage with him on his socials. But, again, we've got our regularly scheduled episode coming up Sunday. I'm sure I will have more silly ideas about the roster and where Roto might be taking us next by then. Anything else for you on Osman? Again, I really enjoyed watching him as a player. Clearly, it didn't work out from his side of things, and it did not go swimmingly from what our ceiling expectations were coming in. I vividly remember sitting in the top flight studio with the We Are Austin TV boys about 18 months ago and saying ceiling outcome for this guy is like MVP candidate with the speed combination, right? Coming off his World Cup goal, his goal against Man City, all of that type of stuff, and nowhere close.
Nowhere close. That's for sure. And I'll just say I love the dude. I'm gonna miss him for sure. I wish him the best. I hope he's able to be with his family and that improves his play. And I will be watching from afar every now and again. I'll check out the FOP mobs, see what's going on. Hopefully get some goals over there. I have a new Polish team to root for. Your
Ekstraklasa best ball team's definitely going to have Osman on it next year. So, and we'll leave everybody with this, some positivity out of Kevin saying Jaden Nelson is an improvement on Osman.
He couldn't get minutes in Vancouver.
Yeah.
He couldn't get minutes.
Look, now it's Evers, Kembo. I passed it off. Jackson saying Doyle chose to be the villain in this timeline. He chooses that on a daily basis. So appreciate everybody tuning in, whether you caught us on the replay audio version or here on YouTube, or you were here hanging out live with us. Of course, just a reminder, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does help us grow the show. If you hit that notification bell, you'll know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. Of course, here on the live stream, hit the thumbs up, like the video. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. We're back on Sunday with our regularly scheduled episode. Please, Austin FC, no more news for 48 hours. Let us take a breather. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We'll do the same. We'll see you back here on Sunday for another episode. Till then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos, Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.
1, 2,